Hakadosh Boker Tov Masechet Ketubot Daf Amud Aleph 18a1. We were talking about, right, that Stam Yehuda veGalil, which means the relationship between Yehuda and Galil, which were two different types of zones in Israel, right? There was like Shat Cherum. What does it mean Shat Cherum? Like a time of Milchama. And therefore, even during the time when there was peace and there was no war, there were not a lot of caravans going from one to another. So therefore, if the first husbands, meaning the first owners, came and they started making a chazakah, right, whether it's going to be in Yehuda and Galil, now you cannot come and start making a mecha, which means you cannot rebuke or make a claim against them, right? Why? Because they're not going to find out about it. So imagine right now, right, you start living in a land, right? Remember, after 3 years in the land, you have a chazakah, you don't need any more any proofs. So where's your receipt? Listen, I've been using it for 3 years. You want me to keep the receipt? After 3 years, there's no receipts anymore. I get rid of all the documents. I don't need anything. I've been here for 3 years quietly. And within the 3 years, what happens if I come and I say, hey, he stole my field? The second I make a mecha'a, which means I come and I make a claim, right? And I rebuke and I say that this guy, now he needs to keep his documents always. Why? Because now I just went and I made a counterclaim within the 3 years. What happens now? This guy's coming. He's going to be in the other country, the other side of the country, right? And now he's going to say such a thing. So in such a case, it doesn't work. Why? Because since there's no caravans going back and forth, how's he going to know that I made a rebuke? He's not going to know. Why? Because even though it's a time of peace, there's no caravans going back and forth. Okay? So the Gemara is going to come and say, 1 second. Yeah, Velitne Modereb Yusha. We're on the top. The top of Yud Chet Amud Aleph. Right, the top of 18a1. Velitni Modereb Yoshua b'melech Havro Maneh Laviti Mimcha Uparati Lecha Shu Ne'eman. So says the Gemara, why don't we teach that Rabbi Yoshua should agree to his friend, should agree that what? Imagine right now I come and I tell my friend, listen, I borrowed 100 zuz from you and I paid you back. Right? 100 zuz. Zuz is a currency. So therefore, right, and I paid you back. Shu Ne'eman, you should be believed. Why? The same thing that we learned before. If I didn't say anything, so therefore, obviously, I'm going to be believed. So the question is, right, I should be believed in such a case. So says the Gemara, he needed to learn the Seifa. What was the Seifa? What happens if there's witnesses that he borrowed from him? And he says, Parativ, and I paid you back. And he's not going to be believed. Why is he not going to be believed? Because in the case of the witnesses, I don't need you anymore. If I have witnesses, right, that you went and you borrowed 100 zuz from me, so therefore I don't need you to come and say I borrowed from you. I have already witnesses that you borrowed from me. So therefore I don't need yours. So your pesha sad doesn't exist anymore. What's the concept of pesha sad pesha? The concept of pesha sad pesha is that the mouth that prohibited is the same mouth that could permit. So if you already came and said, I'm not allowed to do such a thing, so never believe me when you say you are. Why? Because you could have kept your mouth shut. You could have kept your mouth quiet, and you would have been believed. Nothing would have happened. So therefore, a pesha asar or a pesha sheitin. The mouth that prohibits is the mouth that permits. But in our case, if you have witnesses, it's not a pesha asar anymore. Right? Why? I don't need your mouth. I don't need you. I already have witnesses. So therefore, you're not going to be believed if you said that you paid back. We actually paskin amalvet chavero be'edut eno tzarich lefaro be'edim. Even though you borrow money with witnesses, you don't have to pay it back with witnesses. Which means that according to the halacha, sometimes it's wrong. People come and they say, okay, fine, but lend me money. You either need a document or witnesses. So therefore, that's what you do. You come and you give, right, the money, but you give it in front of witnesses or a document. However, though, according to everybody, I don't need to pay back with witnesses. So if I do not need to pay back with witnesses, right, so therefore, why am I not believed if I say I paid you back? I paid you back. Where's witnesses? You don't need witnesses to pay back. To lend, you need the witnesses. Or a document. To pay back, you don't need the witnesses. So it says the Gemara, right, pras. Why don't we say that Rabbi Yoshua admits to his friend that if he says that I had 100 zuz from your father, meaning I borrowed money from your father, and I paid him back half of it. Pras is half. Okay? Right? Right? So he says, I paid him back half of it. Shehu Ne'eman, he should be believed without a shavua. Why? Because here we're talking about again, hapesha asad. Because even though he's modeh b'mitzat means he agrees to half of the ta'ana, right? It's not like any other type of a modeh b'mitzat that he's chayav shivua. Here, right, he's patur. Why? Even according to Rabbi Yoshua, because it's a pesha asad. Meaning like this: I come and I say, listen, you owe me money. You answer me, I owe you money, but I paid you back, right? Or I owed you money, right? But I paid you back half. That's called modeh b'mitzat. Modeh, you admit the part of the claim. I mean, you do admit that there was something here. You admit that there was a lending, there was something here, but you reject the other half. So in such a case, you have to swear. Why? Why do you have to swear? Because the fact that you admitted to part of it, the bedin know only half the story. The other half now is a machloket between one guy and the other guy. Since you already admitted to part of it, you have to swear. That's what's written in the Torah. We just spoke about it yesterday in the shiur, right, of Shemuel with David Elmaleh. We just spoke about it yesterday. Okay, mamash min hashamayim. That's what we spoke about yesterday. So now what happens? If modeh b'mitzat, you're going to be chayav shavua. Here, though, it's not like a regular modeh b'mitzat. Because here, what's a modeh b'mitzat? You come, you say, I owe your father 100 zuz, but I paid him back half. I paid him back 50. So modeh b'mitzat, you should swear. He says no. But here it was what? Hapesha asad. He didn't need to say anything. If you wouldn't have said that you borrowed from the father 100 zuz, nobody came claiming money from you. So therefore, the fact that you came and you said that I owe your father 100 zuz, that's a pesha asad. You're believed even without a shavua. So says the Gemara, aliba deman, right? Who's this going like? Right? What is this going like exactly? Aliba de rabbanan. If you're going to tell me that it's going according to shitat rabbanan, ha'amri, they already said the meshiva vedave, right? That it's considered meshiva vedah. Aliba de Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. And if you're going to tell me it's aliba de Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, ha'amar shavua bai. He says, what are you talking about? You still need a shavua, which means like this. In the Braita, right, to do with Meshiva Veda, that it's like you're giving back a lost object to your friend, even if the friend asked it from it or didn't, right? So therefore, over there, it's a different case. Because if it's according to him, right, if it's according to the Rabbanan, they already said it's like you're a Meshiva Veda, right? So therefore, how are you coming and you're saying, right, this halacha? You're returning a lost object. The guy had no clue that his father lent you 100 zuz. You come and you say, I borrowed 100 zuz from the father and I paid him back half. You're giving back a lost object. Why in the world would you have to swear? Why in the world do you have to do anything? But if it's according to Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, he says no, that you still have to do a swear. You still have to do an oath, a vow. So therefore, who's it going like? The Tanya was learned in the Braita. Listen to the Braita. Yeah, very important. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov Omer. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov says, Pe'amim. Do you know sometimes a person could come and they could swear on their own ta'ana. They could swear on their own.
Nobody asked them.
Nobody asked them. They come and they gave information and they could swear. They would be obligated to make a vow according to their own claims. It says, what's the case? Ketzad. I borrowed 100 zuz from your father and I paid him back half. He has to swear. This is the shita of Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. This is a case where he has to swear on his own vow. Chachamim come and they say, he's only going to be meshiva v'da, and he's going to be patur from Shavua. So you see from here then, that the Gemara is saying that Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov is going to be mechayev Shavua, even if he was not tovea at the beginning, right? Which means, and that's why he's called nishval tanat atzmo. Chachamim, they exempt, but even if they did come in tovea at the beginning, just like we learned in the Mishnah, Masechet Ketubot, and therefore, right, the Tana could not say that our Mishnah is teaching you Rabbi Yeshua is poter, right, because he didn't ask for it, because it all depends who's going like. It's not going to be like, right, not like Chachamim, and not like Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. So therefore, obviously, he didn't teach us such a case. So says the Gemara, Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov let le meshiva v'da patur. I don't understand you. According to Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, he doesn't hold of this logic that if a person comes and they return a lost object, so you're going to be patur from a shavua. Saying, what's the logic behind that? Imagine right now, I'm going to tell you, you're doing me a favor. You're returning a lost object. When you return a lost object, I'm going to tell you, you know what? Now vow, make an oath. You're gonna say, you know what? Why am I gonna give it back? Imagine right now I come, I find the wallet. Now in the wallet, it was only $100. I come and I give you back the wallet. So listen, I'm returning this to you. You come and you say, but no, I'm sorry. It was 200. Swear that you didn't take the under 100. I'm gonna come, I'm gonna say, hey, you think I'm gonna swear? Don't take the wallet back. I'm gonna throw it back in the place. That's it. Well, you're gonna tell me that according to Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, if it's gonna be Meshiva Veda, I'm returning a lost object. And I'm still gonna be obligated to vow. Amarav. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov comes and he says, Betuano katan. He says, no. What happened is here we're talking about that it was a child, that he was a katan when he became an orphan, and he's tovea tanat bari, and he says, right, I know for a fact that you actually borrowed and you didn't pay back at all. So in such a case, the lovez modeh to the tviyata kotan. He says, no. I only have half of it. I pay back half. But so therefore, Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov says, no, here you are obligated to shivua. So what happened? One more time. A person comes and he passes away. He's got a child. The child is under bar mitzvah. He's a katan. He comes and he tells this guy, by the way, you should know, my father lent you $100. Yeah, he lent you 100 zuz. The guy comes and he says, no, I'm sorry, right? He did lend me 100, but I paid him back half. In that case is the case where Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov comes and he says that he has to swear. Why? Because in that case, it's not just like a regular case. Exactly. So since the minor instigated it, you're right. It's not a gadol, but it's a minor. Right? Because if it would have been a gadol, which means a person that's above bar mitzvah, so then you're not even believed, right, to come and say that you paid back. However, though here, right, you're obligated as shavua. So says the Gemara, 1 second. I thought it says, more says, I thought that you're never obligated in a vow through the claims of a cheresh katan. Deaf mute, a person that's not 100% there, right? And a minor. They can never obligate shivua. They don't here you're telling me that he's obligating a vow. How does that make sense? So my katan says, no, you're right. What does it mean a minor? Gadol. Really, behemet, he's a gadol. So why are they calling him a katan? That means why? No, he's after bar mitzvah. Gadol ve katan here. Katan is minor under bar mitzvah. Gadol is over bar mitzvah. But still, here he is a gadol. He is over bar mitzvah. So if you're right, when a person over bar mitzvah, he's obligated a shivua. So why are you calling him a katan? You're calling him a katan because even if a person's over bar mitzvah, he doesn't always know all the dealings of his father. And therefore, he's considered like a katan to do with the dealings of his father.
Why katan? No.
What?
The katan, no.
The katan even more so. The katan doesn't know anything.
Yeah.
But even a gadol, that means you can have a 14-year-old. You think the 14-year-old knows all your business dealings? He doesn't know all your business dealings. So because of that, when he comes to the Bedin and he says, right, you owe my father the money, right, and he was one that instigated the claim, you're chayav shavua. If it was a minor, you wouldn't be chayav shavua. That was the right thing, right? That says you're any ishbayin al yidei cheresh katan. You don't make a vow through a cheresh katan. So why did it call him a minor here? No, it called him a minor to do with the dealings with his father. His father's dealings, he's a minor. He has no clue what the father did and everything. But if he comes and he instigates a claim, the fact that he's a gadol, he obligates you a shavua. He obligates you a vow. So says the Gemara, if so, what does it mean tanat atzmo? It's not tanat atzmo. How do we start off the Braita? We started off that sometimes you could be obligated to vow through your own claims. It's not your own claim. It was a minor, but it wasn't a minor. It was really a gadol, but it was like a minor that instigated the claim against you. So it's tanat acherimu, v'oda'at atzmo. It's not a tanat atzmo. It's oda'at acherim. It's a tanat acherim, v'oda'at atzmo. You understand? Mulu tanata, all the tanot which are mechayvim the shivua is tanat achrim v'odat atzmon. Are tanat achrim and odat atzmon. Ela, but rather, hacha here b'derabba kamipageh. They're arguing in Rabba. The Amar Rabba, but Rabba says, why does the Rabba say that if somebody's going to admit to part of the claim, he has to swear? Because it's a chazakah. If somebody lent you money, you don't have the audacity to come and to lie to his face. And to come and say, you don't have that. And he could be that this person, he could go against the entire right chov. So why is it not that he doesn't do that? Because a person cannot, which means like this. A person that comes and he borrows money from someone, he can't come and mamash, just say, I didn't borrow anything from you. It's impossible. He doesn't have that face. You understand? But he could come and he'd say, listen, I was only half, or I paid you back. Oh, you paid me back. No, but because then he's he's not going to go against the entire thing. So because of that, the Torah obligated a shavua, because the Torah already knew that you weren't going to come and say, I didn't lend him, I didn't borrow at all. It's too much of an audacity, too much of a chutzpah. Yudchet Amubet, 18b. Uvekulu bae de lodule. Now, be'emet, he should have actually come and admitted the entire thing. So why didn't he admit? It says because he wanted to get out of it for a certain amount of time. So he thought, I'm going to wait for money and then I'm going to give it back to him.
He wasn't trying to completely beat him.
Exactly. That means basically he did want to pay him back, but he was embarrassed. So he wanted to buy time. How do you buy time? I only owe you half. By saying I only owe you half, so he's going to give half now, and then he's going to, when he gets more money, he'll give him another half. That's why the Torah says, no, swear. Because by swearing, now you're not going to swear in vain. So he says over here, right? Rahman Amar, give him a shivua, so he's going to admit the entire thing. Rabbi Yaakov says, there's no difference between him or his son and Omeiz. A person will not have the audacity to completely deny all the allegations. It's not considered Meshiv Avidah. And the rabbis hold, meaning only for the guy himself, you won't have the audacity. Right? But his son, he will be made. With lo, he is Meshiv Avidah. So one more time. Machloket Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov and the rabbis. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov admits to the rabbis that if you're returning a lost object, you do not have to swear. Because it doesn't make sense. How can I obligate you to swear? They admit to that. But the question is like this. We have a general rule that if you borrow money from someone, you don't have the caradura, they say in Spanish. You don't have the hard face, the azut panim, the metzach. You cannot come and say, I didn't borrow money from you. The guy, like as it's exactly, who are you? It doesn't work. You can't do that, right? But would you do that to his son? The guy already dropped dead. The guy died. Would you do that to the son or not? So the first opinion, which was Rabbi Eliezer says, also to the son, you don't have the audacity, you don't have the chutzpah. So since you don't have the chutzpah, it's not that you're returning a lost object. And if you're not returning a lost object, so therefore you still have to come and you have to swear. Right? Why? Because you're not returning it. He doesn't have the audacity to come and to go against you. And therefore, if he admits to part of the claim, swear. Comes the rabbis and say, no. To the son, he'll lie. He'll say to his face, your father didn't lend me anything. Why? It's not the same thing. He doesn't have the thing to the father, not to the son. The son, what does he care about the son? So because of that, when he's already coming on his own and saying, I owed your father money and he paid back half, he's returning a lost object. And therefore, since he's returning a lost object, he does not have to come and does not have to swear. Says the Mishnah, Hayadim Shamru, Ketav Yadenu Uzeh, Aval Anasim Ayunu. Right? Or Ktanim Ayunu, or Psule Dut Ayunu, Harelu Nemanim. Imagine right now, witnesses come to Bedin and they testify about their signatures. And they say, yes, these are our signatures. Doesn't matter what type of a document whatsoever. But they come and they it's a document. And they come and say, yeah, it's our signatures. But we were forced. They came with us a gun at the head. And they said, you either sign or we kill you. So we did sign. That is our signatures. But we were forced. Or number two, we were minors at the time. Or number three, we were psulei dut. We were pasul. Why? Whether it's because we were family members or because we were gambling and doing other things. So these people are believed. Now, why? Even though normally witnesses are not believed to come and say that it's not there, that they signed on something which is false or things like that, here they are believed. And the reason why is because since it's going to be, it's only going to be verified only through their signatures or through their mouths. So therefore, it's like a pesha asar or a peshiti. However, if you have witnesses that this is their signature, or there's other documents where we could verify the signatures without them telling us anything, so then they're not going to be believed. Again, the exact same thing. Meaning, if we're only relying upon them, so the fact that we rely upon them to say, yes, this is our signatures, so they're believed to disqualify the document by saying they were disqualified for whatever reason it was, whether they were forced, minors, or they were psulei dut, they were disqualified from being witnesses. But if we already can verify it through a third party, whether it's because of other witnesses or because of the other documents which has their signatures, which we can verify the signatures, I don't need them. If I don't need them, so then they're not going to be believed to come and say that they were disqualified. Says the Gemara, Amar Rami Bar Chama, says Rami Bar Chama, Lo shanu ela she'amru anusim haynu mechama mamon. That's only going to be if they were forced because of money. which means a person is believed to say, right? Why? Because a person is not believed to say that he became a rasha through money. Okay, that means he becomes like a wicked person because of what. That means if they went and they said, "Listen, we didn't want to lose money," they become rishaim, so they're not believed. But if it's going to be life and death, they are believed. Which means like this: what happens right now? They come in and say, "Listen, this is our signatures, but the only reason why we signed was only because if we didn't sign, we were going to lose $10,000. He wasn't going to pay us back. So then we're not going to be believed. Why? Because that means we just became rishaim for $10,000. They're not believed. But if they come and they say, no, but they had a gun to them, so then obviously we're going to be believed. Because that's nefashot, that's life and death. So Amar le Rava comes and he says, Kol kemine, can this witness come and retract? Given Shigit, it's a famous Gemara in Makot and other places. Once a witness testifies, he can't retract on the testimony, right? Which means he cannot retract on the first testimony, right? So therefore, right, what's going on here? He testified, he signed, and now he's going to come and retract. He can't retract. So it says the Gemara, maybe that's only if it's going to be by word of mouth. Aval b'shtar, but if it's going to be a document, no, we don't say this general rule, and you could always retract. Says Shakish, when you have witnesses which are going to be on a document, it's like that you came, they went to Medina, and they were interrogated. But rather, when do we say this? At the beginning. We said at the beginning, right, of the Mishnah, we said over there that if right now, right, if we're going to be Mekayim the Shtar only through the witnesses, and they say that they were a force majeure, they were like basically forced to do it, Harelu Nemanim, they're going to be believed. Amar Rabbi Berachama says, Rabbi Berachama, Lo Shanu L'Shamru Anusina Yom Echman Nashot. They're only going to be believed if it was life and death. Aval Amru Anusina Yom, but if they say that they were going to be forced because of money, and Nemanim, they're not going to be believed. My time, what's the reasoning? And Adam a person cannot make himself into a rasha. So Tana Rabbanan, we learn to the Braita, and Nemanim leposlo, right? Edim, that they come and they verify the signatures. They're not believed to disqualify. These are the words of Rabbi Meir. Chachamim say Nemanim, they are going to be believed. So therefore, our Mishnah is actually going according to the Chachamim and not according to Rabbi Meir. So Bishlam al Rabbanan, I understand according to the rabbis, Kitamayu Chapesach B'Sheitit. Right? I understand the rabbis, and that's why they're believed. The same mouth that prohibited it is the same mouth which is permitting it. So they came and they verified it, and therefore, since they verified it and they are believed to verify it, so therefore they could disqualify it as well. But according to Rabbi Meir, what's the reasoning why he says it? They're not going to be believed. So he says, I also understand in the case of edut, right? Or we're talking about psule edut. Why? Because there's a chazakah. The malve himself is going to be medartek with the witnesses to make sure that it's going to be good. And therefore, since the edim were admitting there was going to be alva or kinyan, like what's written, but they say that they weren't fitting to testify, so now they're not going to be believed. Because the Balashtar wasn't going to make him lose, right, the money like that.
Usually you're going to want to have
meaning
witnesses.
Exactly. That means the guy that's lending out the money, he's going to make sure that he's got good witnesses. So therefore, they didn't say there was no loan. They said, yes, there was a loan, but the document's not a good document. Now, the question though is that it doesn't make sense because a malve, which is the one that's a lender, right? He makes sure that when he's going to get witnesses, he's going to get good witnesses on this document. So if they're going to say we were psule dut, it doesn't really make sense. What, they were disqualified? It doesn't make sense really. Ktanim nami, also by ktanim, like Rabbi Shimon Lakish, but it says Rash Lakish, Yutet Amud Aleph, Chazaka, and Aedim Chotmim al Ashtar and Ken Nase Begadol. Right? There's a chazakah. The witnesses are not going to sign unless it's going to be done with a gadol. Right? So therefore, it says over here, there's a chazakah that he's not going to come and take minors to sign on the document. The question is, anusin why be'emet is not going to be believed. Meaning this, I understand that Rabbi Meir shita. Rabbi Meir comes and he says they cannot disqualify the document. Why? Because there's a chazakah by both of the first two. By whether it's talking about psule edut or psule edut, or we're talking about whether it's because of psulim or because of ktanim, I understand. Why? At the end of the day, the malved understands. But anusin, why isn't he being believed? How do we not know that the malved came with a gun to the guy's head and say, you guys have to sign? Why according to Rabbi Meir, are they not going to be believed? So this is what we're going to speak about tomorrow, Bezrat Hashem. Have a wonderful day.